This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, this is the Advisory Committee on Sustainability, regular meeting of October 14th, 2020. We are meeting by video conference only. We're calling the meeting to order at 12:09. And the first item on the agenda is approval of past minutes. I read through them a couple of times and nothing popped out. I wasn't necessarily reading with a critical eye, but I have no comments. Anybody else?
I don't have any comments either. They were good.
All right, can I get a motion in a second?
No comment.
I'll make a motion to approve them.
And a second from Kathy, and all in favor, show me your hand. All right, those are done. Thank you, Cliff, for doing a good job with no comments. That's pretty impressive. I'm gonna, Carolyn has to jump off at 12:40. Cliff has to jump off at 12:40. Dan is not joining. So I want to just try to get as much updates done as we can in a half an hour. So I'm going to try to go quickly. First item is communication with like organizations. Anything to report from or to?
At the last Green Team meeting, there was some discussion about working with a welcome wagon organization and sort of a solicitation of materials that could go in with this package. And we, at our last meeting, we talked about doing a postcard that we could hand out on the food scrap recycling program. And I think that might be something that would be, you know, like the perfect thing to slip into a welcome wagon, and maybe also, because I think like even like one of my own neighbors had mentioned to me, like they like didn't know how anything worked, like how to get a, you know, dump sticker. I mean, we know how to get to that information, but someone new to town doesn't always. And so I think maybe having a little package on, you know, recycling and how to get a dump sticker and the food scrap program.
You can roll the whole thing into one. And we have the trifold, right, which is a lot of information. It's basically boiling down a lot of information into a helpful two-sided card.
Yes.
Okay.
So I know that I had said at the last meeting that I would draft a postcard that we could hand out. You know, I guess I don't have anything to present today, but do we want it to be just on the food scraps, or do we want to do something that sort of is like, hey, this is like what we do in Darien, that we could put in, you know, for newcomers? Or do we want two different things?
Yeah, you know, on the one hand, I don't necessarily want to overcomplicate a simple message, which is we're trying to, I mean, really, we're trying to grow the food scrap program. People do figure that other stuff out as they go along.
Yeah.
But, you know, to me, the greater value right now is you know, say doubling the size of the food scrap program.
Yes. And by the way, it's 2 years old tomorrow.
Yeah. Wow, that's exciting. And so, you know, I actually like numbers now because I'm wondering when we're going to get to like 1 million pounds, you know, and that's like a fun number to advertise, you know, which isn't too far away, by the way. All right. Anything else on that now? I think we're going to stay the course on what we thought we were going to do.
Okay.
Any update on the sustainable purchasing policy, Cliff?
No, nothing new, sorry.
So grant selection, I do have something to report. It looks like the town of Darien is going to go for a steep grant to pay for landscape improvements at Highland Farm. So it is becoming more of a town-driven project than a kind of grassroots community project. Which means that I don't think it would qualify for the Sustainable CT grant. So we're back to trying to identify a, you know, grassroots community project to bring to light. The two things that we thought were kind of cool and we left on the agenda to talk about were perhaps funding an electric shuttle bus, maybe as a part of the at-home service, or installing an electric vehicle charging station somewhere in town. Thoughts, champions, partners?
It seems to me that the shuttle bus requires ongoing costs of human, drivers and all the rest of that. It's a pretty significant commitment, long-term commitment. Whereas the charging station, it seems to me, is a little bit more straightforward. I mean, you've got to pay for the energy, of course. And I would have thought that would be a sort of a low-hanging fruit to do one of those.
I agree. And so, all right, let's think about pursuing that. I think the first questions might be, where would we put it? Whose property would it be on? Who would our partners be in order to secure that grant? Because again, you have to have 5 different entities providing the other half of the funds, and then Sustainable CT provides the other half of the funds. So it's not just town plus Sustainable CT, it's town plus A, B, and C to get it done.
I wonder if Corbin might be interested in partnering as part of their new development, or maybe up at Norotan Heights in the new development up there, or even in the Darien Sports Shop parking lot. That's a pretty sizable parking lot with a lot of people who have an interest in it.
I like the idea of working with someone that already has a parking lot and a power supply available. We don't know. Corbin's a couple of years out, and Norotan Heights is a little less, but it's some time out.
I mean, Craig, I know that I've read about how some other towns have been trying to raise money for this IOBY grant for that exact purpose, an EV charging station. Maybe we could kind of, not reinvent the wheel, but kind of look at how, where
that's
they
a good place to start.
them and how have they gone about raising money. So
even though we don't have our fellows, we can certainly call Sustainable CT and start to get some information on how that's been done in the past, and try to so Kathy, do you think you'd be willing to do the background research on that?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm going to continue to move quickly. Pam is not on the call, so I'm going to punt past item number 3, the town website. 4, we've agreed to table this stuff, but we were talking a little bit offline about the Board of Ed, and as Carolyn has been championing the food scrap recycling, the number of people that ask how do we get it in school cafeterias. Again, this year is tough. They're all eating individually in classrooms, but hopefully that's over by next September and we're back in the cafeteria. But also identifying a person that is more familiar with the BOE now. I think Christine might be a good target for this one, and since she's not on the call, maybe I'll volunteer her to start opening up, to start looking into this and thinking about who we talk to and how we might start to get this done. But I don't think we need to talk about anything else under Board of Ed, other than we've long delayed really having an open dialogue with them, which we should, maybe right after the election and we know who the new Board of Ed is, we can open a dialogue. 5, recycling.
Craig, just real quick on the Board of Ed. I mean, I am not currently involved and know the current partners, but feel having spent a bazillion years on CDSP and working on budgets and things like that, and paying very close attention to the Board of Ed, I would be willing to work with whomever were the people that can maybe parties
that's awesome.
to work both with the industry administration or the administrators or the Board of Ed on that project.
Thank you very much.
I feel comfortable in that school process, even if
You understand kind of the lay of the land and how things work. Yep. Excellent.
yeah.
Thank you, Kathy, for raising your hand. It's greatly appreciated. And I mean that. All right, 5, recycling. We talked tangentially about this last time, and the idea of having the town of Darien sign on to the Connecticut Coalition on Sustainable Materials Management. Sounds about right. I don't know if that's the actual acronym. We are, as Carolyn will report, she is jumping off at 12:40 to make a presentation to the CCSMM on our food scrap program with the hope that other communities take it up and maybe the state takes it up. I attached to this month's email the sign-on statement. I think I received 2 or 3 emails back saying, yeah, why wouldn't we do this as a town? So I guess I would like an official motion to recommend to the Board of Selectmen that we sign on to the coalition.
I would motion that.
All right, Kathy so moves. Carolyn seconds. Any further discussion on the motion? No, all those in favor, show me your hand. All right, there we go, got it. All right, that's 4-0. I will let Jamie know better late than never that we are interested in signing on to CCSMM and collaborating with the DEP and fellow municipalities on more sustainable materials management, which is really the problem of too much garbage and nowhere to send it. Right now, we are dependent on the grace of other states, which could very well become more territorial as their landfills fill up and leave us with a very dire problem of how to get rid of our waste. All right, so 5B, Ed, this goes back to you. I think it's involved, it's partly involved in your negotiations with City Carding about the management of the transfer station, but you were going to try to get us a decent sized separate bin for plastic bags and films at the recycling center.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I thought that was taken care of, but I will look into it again.
All right, we look forward to.
I'll have it up there before the end of the week.
Yeah, they basically have a garbage can over by the recycling center that says, no plastic bags, put your plastic bags in here, but we're looking for something more comprehensive so we can direct people that, all of their flexible plastics that I am now throwing in garbage could potentially be recaptured in a separate bin for recycling. Understanding that we don't want it mixed with single stream because it's a detriment to the sorting plant. We tabled shredding to the spring. So food scrap recycling. Carolyn, you're on.
So I mentioned that I'm working on, but don't have a draft of a postcard to present to everyone yet that we could hand out to residents just to publicize the food scrap program, because I think, in the beginning, we kind of got the, early adapters, and the program has continued to grow. I mean, I do still get inquiries on the recycle@darien.ct.gov email. Do you still have kits? Where can I get a kit? So people are still buying the kits, but it's not as quick as it was when we set up, at the recycling center, in the early stages of the program, and we're there and people were walking by and seeing them and could ask questions. So yeah, I think we definitely need to try to do something to give a push to the program. So last month in September, our tonnage was actually down. It was 2.84 tons for the month of September. It was 3.9 in August, so it was down by a ton, basically.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I wonder if people started going out to eat again.
Yeah, I don't know. So it was down. It had been higher in July, and June was really high. June was, I think, part of that though was there were 5 pickups. It was almost 5 tons. But anyway, the point is we are pretty steadily between 3/4 and 1 ton a week. So, I mean, it's good, but it needs to be higher.
So yeah, absolutely. We endorse the postcard. We just want to see a draft of it and we'll get going. Yeah.
Okay, good.
You
And
spent a lot of your time preparing for your presentation today.
yeah, yes, I have spent a lot of time, and I'm nervous because I'm not a seasoned public speaker, so I'm a little bit nervous, even though
You're
like you
speaking
said,
in
I know
public
this.
right now and you sound great.
You also did a wonderful job with the Men's Association. You got it knocked. Don't worry about it.
Okay, thanks, Cliff. Yeah, so I mean, I think if I can just talk about the program, I mean, I know it backwards and forwards, and I think there's a lot of interest right now. I think I've mentioned so far Greenwich, Rowayton, Norwalk, and Westport have all launched their own programs. New Canaan has one that they're launching at the end of this month. So I feel that we've definitely had an impact on other communities, and people, there's interest in wanting to do this. So we just need to make it easy for them, and we need to make them aware of it. I think there's a lot of people who just, I've heard so many comments like, I can't believe I didn't know that we had this program. So there's something that we're not doing that we should be doing. I think we.
Go ahead, Kathy.
We can't hear you.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt when you finish. Go, finish.
Oh, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm on. You can't hear me?
Now we
I'm not
can.
muted.
Yeah, you're breaking up. Yeah, we're not getting you. Is there better Wi-Fi in another room in the house somewhere? Or? Yeah.
Bad connection?
Oh, and now you're moving again. And
No,
I
can you hear?
you again? Yeah. It's like shaky. All right, maybe next time. So we'll talk about that too. Maybe we should talk about meeting in person, allowed at town hall.
Okay.
Right.
Are you there? It just said that restored my audio.
Yep.
Maybe not. Okay, I have a bad connection. Sorry.
You can't hear us moving either. All right. Can't wait to hear how it goes. Excited to hear about it. So, and I guess 3 and 4 here are on our agenda to remind us that over time we would love to have better contract terms that would enable us to grow the program. Is this being discussed at all in your negotiations? It's like a yes or no question. Ed?
Yes.
Okay, that's good enough for now. I'll let you manage that with city carding.
Both Greenwich and Westport are being charged by tonnage, not by per. It's more of a tonnage charge as opposed to a fixed cost of a per stop charge and then a variable cost on the number of bins. But they won't. I can't really get any information on what that is.
Okay. And ideally, really, the size of the program can increase if we if the local haulers start offering it as a service to their customers, but that requires them to be able to transfer the material somewhere, including at our transfer station. So that's a long-term goal as well. Was there any further, do we know if Tom is trying to do that for his customers? Because he was the first one interested, right?
I spoke with him, some time ago, and I mean, he's basically waiting to get the go-ahead from us.
Yeah, we have to be able to allow him to transfer. Which goes back to the better contract terms and larger bin.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Got all that, Ed?
I do. Writing it down right now.
Thank you, sir. Any update on the carry-in, carry-out policy? How they're doing with that? No.
I haven't. If there is, I haven't heard anything. I'm not in the loop.
All right, propane canister, any update on legislation relative to the stewardship of pressurized canisters?
Just what I had mentioned to you and Cliff about the meeting of the Connecticut Stewardship Council that I attended a couple weeks ago, that they have a state legislator who has agreed to raise the bill again this year, and to make it encompassing up to canisters up to 7 pounds, because apparently anything under 7, the reason they wanted it up to 7 pounds is because anything smaller than that can't be refilled. The canisters, the mechanics of the canister just don't allow for that. So, or not legally anyway. So they wanted the canisters up to 7 pounds to be included. He now understands the importance of having that distinction, and he has agreed to raise the bill again in the next legislative session, which begins, I think, January.
Okay, so once it is raised, we need to lobby our local representatives as well as any other interested parties to provide comment when it's raised.
Yes, and then if there's a public hearing, we could submit testimony. I don't know. I had said, that our committee should submit testimony, but in looking at our mission statement, I don't see that we technically are
Lobbyists.
Right. So maybe we would have to, draft something for Jamie and ask Jamie to submit written testimony.
Sure. Yeah, that would be fine, I'm sure.
But we as individuals, not as members of this community, this committee necessarily, but as individuals, we can
could separately provide comment. Yeah, excellent. Okay. I'm going to skip swap shop unless, Ed, you have any safety concerns or things that have come to your attention over the last month?
No, just one item. I got a handwritten note emailed, left in our mailbox or Dropbox just about 2 weeks ago. Just making a suggestion, no signature on it, but it was a nice letter. It wasn't anything bad. Just they came up with an idea, since it does get crowded on certain days with parking spaces being open spaces being a minimum. They had suggested that maybe the workers at the swap shop could park across the street. I thought I would just mention that to Dan and see what he thought about it, but he's not on the call right now.
Is there usually room in front of the garage or no?
On Saturday when we're not there, they can park in front of the facility. They could park over by our bays to the east side of the building, or they could park across the street in the gravel. But during the work week, Craig, I don't want them parking inside other than next to the swap shop. The opposite side of Ledge Road is probably the only place that they could on Monday and Wednesday and Friday do park out there. So if we ever open up on Saturdays again, it's there for them.
Well, we'll go ahead and forward the note to Dan. I will note for the recorded record that one of the reasons Dan could not show up today is because he was only one of 2 volunteers at the swap shop and he's busy directing traffic. Which gets me to the next item, which is purchasing official yellow vests for committee members that want them. Certainly, it would be appropriate for Dan to be wearing a yellow vest if he's directing traffic. So I guess who wants one of these vests?
I do.
I do.
Carolyn would like one. I would like one. I will pose the question in an email to the crew. Kathy, you still there? Or she's trying to be there. She's trying really hard, I can tell.
Yeah, she's trying to dial in, I think.
Yeah, it's not connected to audio though, so, and I can't ask her to connect. So we
I
can't
think
take
it's a good idea, Craig, because every time I bring my own recycling, I look, I always take pictures, just so that I can go home and look carefully to see what's in. There's much more contamination than prior to the pandemic. I feel like we got to a pretty good point before the pandemic, but there's a lot every time I look.
Yeah.
it would be nice to be able to, you know, stand there
For
for
20
you know,
minutes if you have some time, yeah, whatever, yeah, yeah.
and just catch, you know, people, you know, and help them understand what can and can't go in there anymore.
Let's
In
try
that
Kathy.
regard, the sample wording you sent around,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I would suggest changing it to "May I help you." I like the idea of specifying that we're a volunteer, but "May I help you?"
Instead of ask me a question. So it'll say
Yes.
recycling volunteer, may I help you?
I would suggest that, because I'm not going to be able to answer half the questions anyway, so I don't want to invite questions.
Is that
I
good with
think I
everybody?
agree.
Okay. Kathy, how's your technology? No, it looks like you're frozen to me. Thank you for trying. All right, going back to the agenda. Ed, while you're on the line, are there like lanyards or ID cards that would make sense for us to have or could be produced, or is that harder question than an easier question?
I think I mean, in comparison to a bright yellow vest out in the middle of a parking lot, I think the bright yellow vest and
Yeah. Well, we could put our own
recycling volunteer makes more sense than lanyards that you hang around your neck.
All right, and there's a little pocket for a name tag, so we could all just take a card and write our name on it, so people know. Energy Task Force, Ed, we talked briefly last time about just trying to look at the numbers from the last year from our installations and see how they were performing versus the promise of saved money.
Yeah, I do recall the conversation.
It sounds like you're writing that down again, and we'll look for.
No. This is something you and I have been talking about since we put the first array on the town hall.
Yep.
You want to expand it, and I'm just wrapping up the generator project on Friday.
Okay.
After that, we'll be all hooked up back to normal around here. Solar and everything will be hooked back up and running properly. So I want to give you some numbers that you can look at as far as our generator. But my problem is, or our solar arrays, my problem is the only other service I can tie into, Craig, is the 480, and that handles HVAC or elevators, anything of high equipment rate, and I just don't know how that fits into a solar array. I just don't know how that draws off of that, provides us enough power. So that's something that whoever we bring in is going to have to explain that to me.
My impression was that, yeah, there's two service connections into Town Hall. One is for the body of Town Hall, and one is really for the Mather Center side. Is that recollection correct?
No, unfortunately.
Okay.
We have we had two services. It was a 208 and a 480 coming into this building. What we did with the new generator and our work with Eversource is we put one transformer outside the building. We eliminated all the other ones inside and out. And we brought in one service, 2,000 amp service, and we jumped it with a transformer from 208 to 480 now in the building to feed the other components. The 480 is to run the high energy use components, HVAC, air handlers, elevators, anything that draw a lot of power. So that's how we're broken up. Mather Center Town Hall isn't broken up separately.
So really the first step is a consultant that can advise whether or not it's feasible to do it on the 480 side and there's value given the loads on that side.
Yeah, I think the Skyview people I'm dealing with, who I pay for the solar right now,
yeah,
they've been chomping at the bit to do projects here in Darien, and unfortunately they haven't gotten the Board of Ed to open up their wallets just yet, or open up their facilities just yet, not even their wallets. So a call from me, I'm sure they'd be down here to talk to us about it.
Okay, well that sounds good. Any update on the police station?
They are actually just wrapping up all the HVAC conversions this week.
Okay.
They got some programming to do. We're trying to get it all done, heating and air conditioning by November, so that we have a program system properly balanced in there. And then, like I said, once we get everything stabilized and running the way it's supposed to, we will look at energy savings on the other side of this.
Now, on item C, obviously another long-term goal for the committee is to see our town fleet incorporate electric vehicles. I'll note that the town of Westport Police Department just bought a Model 3 Tesla fully electric vehicle to experiment with in terms of the overall cost of operation of the vehicle. They see a lot of advantages in not just reduction in fuel costs, but you don't have to change the oil. There's regenerative braking, so you don't have to replace as many brake pads. There's not oil filters. So they believe that it'll be a reduction in cost and maintenance. Anyway, so that's just mentioned as a long-term goal. It is 12:40.
I have to hop off.
So if Cliff and Carolyn still need to hop off, we might as well call the meeting to a close. And look for a couple of emails from me on the vest and your commitment to serve another year. Thank you. Bye-bye. I'm going to stop recording.
Okay, great.